Hi, my name is Kim, and I had the honor of representing China in the 2022 Beijing Olympics as the goalie for the women's ice hockey team. But 6 years before the Olympics, I quit hockey. It was my senior year at Princeton University, and all I wanted was to win the Ivy League championship. We had made it to the final game against Cornell, and I was in net. It was intense. I was stopping shots left and right and keeping the score tied at 0-0. When finally, in the third period, my teammates scored a goal, and then another, and another. And when the final buzzer rang out, we'd won 5-0. My teammates were ecstatic. They all jumped the bench and dogpiled on top of me. We couldn't believe it. We were the Ivy League champions. And underneath that pile of cheering teammates, I felt drained and alone. I was confused. I thought I would feel happy and thrilled. Wasn't it my goal to win this championship? So why did I feel so empty and unhappy? Hockey was everything to me. In college, I sacrificed my personal life, my social life, and even at times my health to achieve my goal of winning this championship. But when we finally won, it didn't feel like it was worth the sacrifices. I was unhappy and alone. For the first time in my life, I realized that I didn't like playing hockey anymore. So I stopped playing and decided it was time for me to move on to other things. I graduated with a degree in economics and got a job in New York City working for a big bank. I found new interests, tried new hobbies, and was doing all right. When, out of the blue, I get a call. It's the head coach of a Chinese hockey team. She told me that China's putting together the first ever Chinese professional hockey team to prepare for the 2022 Beijing Olympics, and they wanted me to be the goalie. My first thought was, no way, there's hockey in China? My second thought was, I could play professional hockey and be in the Olympics? How cool is that? But then I remembered how drained and unhappy I felt playing hockey at Princeton. I didn't want to relive that. If my new goal was to play in the Olympics, I needed to do something different. That's when I talked to my mom, and she told me, Kim, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play hockey in China. She was so enthusiastic, and she was right. When else would I get the chance to live in China, speak Chinese with locals, and play hockey with Chinese teammates? I'd studied 3 years of Mandarin so that I could talk to my grandfather in his native tongue. Here is my chance to do that and connect with my Chinese family and my Chinese heritage. So I called the coach back and I told her I'm in. Fast forward a few months, and I'm in the middle of my first professional hockey season in China. And I'm thinking this was a huge mistake. We were up against the best team in the league, and everyone knew that we were gonna lose badly. I was dreading it. And guess what? We did lose. 6-1. I felt so defeated. Just like at Princeton, I was once again feeling drained and unhappy. But this time, we were losing too. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. I stuck it out, and at the end of the season, I decided I needed a short break from hockey. I was in China at the time, so I went to go visit my grandfather. In my entire life, this was only the third time I'd ever seen him in person. He was so happy to see me. He was smiling the whole time, and now that I could understand Mandarin, he was talking nonstop. he showed me his apartment wall covered in the photos from his life. Our photos of me, my brother, and my cousins, were right in the middle, and I could tell that they were important to him. We, his family, were important to him. As we talked over dinner, he told me he was proud that I was representing China in hockey, but most of all, he was happy to be spending time with me, speaking to me in Chinese and getting the chance to connect as family. Not once did he mention the score of any hockey game or the outcome of the hockey season. Just me being there was enough. Years from now, I probably won't remember the scores of all the hockey games I played in. That 6-1 loss I mentioned earlier, I honestly couldn't tell you if that was the actual score until I looked it up. All I remembered was that we lost, and it felt awful. But I'll always remember how happy I was to connect with my grandfather and the way he smiled as he showed me his apartment wall covered in photos. I didn't know this at the time, but that would be the last time I would ever see him. He would pass away a year later. The time I spent with my grandfather made me realize that all these years I've played hockey, I've had blinders on. I was so narrowly focused on my goal of winning that it made me miserable. When I got to connect with my grandfather, I had to take my blinders off and take a look around me. Winning wasn't the only thing that was important. The people around me were important too. I came back to hockey the next season with new motivation. I wanted to focus on more than just my goal of playing in the Olympics. Now that I had taken my blinders off, I saw the need to make time to connect with the people around me. I became friends with a teammate named Mel. Now, Mel's a bit of a weirdo. She played defense, but had always wanted to be a goalie. In hockey, goalies are known to be the weird ones on the team. After all, what normal person wants to put their face in front of flying rubber pucks? So, Mel did the next best thing, and she would always come out to my goalie practices and shoot pucks on me. A month into the season, we're in the middle of goalie practice, and I'm working on my glove positioning. It's not going well, and I'm letting in a lot of shots when Mel suddenly stopped. She skated over and asked me, "Kim, are you doing all right? You seem a little off today." I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm good." But I wasn't good. A year ago, I would have just brushed it off and tried to figure it out on my own. But because of my grandfather, I learned the importance of connecting to the people around me. So later that night, I decided to reach out to Mel. I asked her, "I'm working on my glove positioning, but no matter what I try, I'm still letting in more goals. I'm getting really frustrated. What do I do?" Mel says to me, "Stopping the puck is your goal, but you want to focus on your glove positioning, not how many pucks you stop. In fact, you want shooters to score because that's how you improve." So the next goalie practice, I'm working on breakaways. Mel pulls off a big move, and she scores. She circles around and celebrates all the way across the ice, just whooping and hollering and rubbing it in. And I'll admit, it was a pretty good shot. But don't tell her that. In the past, I would have been mad at myself for not stopping the puck. But now, when Mel scored, I was laughing instead and learning from my mistake. Because I reached out to Mel and connected with her, I became energized to be a better goalie, and I was having fun with it too. I realized that by connecting with Mel, it made working towards my goal of playing in the Olympics meaningful to me. Throughout that season, I spent more time connecting with the friends and teammates around me, and everything was coming together. We were in the final stretch, practicing hard, playing games, and preparing ourselves mentally for the biggest event of our lives. Then, 2.5 months before the Olympics, I broke my ankle. I was sitting in the hospital, staring at the x-ray of my broken bone, and the doctor was telling me it would take at least 3 months to heal the bone and just start getting back on the ice. But I only had 2.5 months left until the Olympics. It felt impossible. If I still had my blinders on, it would have been impossible. But now, I had a different approach. I wasn't just narrowly focused on my goal anymore. I was also connected to the people around me. So the first thing I did was start reaching out to everyone I knew to see if I could find a surgeon. I didn't really expect anything to happen, but I was blown away by the support. Almost immediately, I was put in touch with a world-class ankle surgeon in the US who got back to me and said, "I can book you in for surgery tomorrow morning." I said, "Hold on, I still need to get a flight there first." And that was just the start. A local hockey mom helped me book my hotel, picked me up from the airport, and helped me with anything I needed during my surgery and rehab. I'd never even met her before. My uncle flew in from St. Louis to come take care of me before and after my surgery. My team of rehab specialists were there for me day in and day out and got me back on the ice in only 5 weeks. My brother flew in from San Francisco to come shoot pucks on me to get me ready to play in games. When I needed help the most, people answered. And before I knew it, I was on a plane to Beijing, headed for the Olympics. When I stepped on that ice for my first Olympic game against Denmark, it hit me. I was so grateful for all of the unbelievable people who had helped make the impossible possible. I felt so connected to my family and my Chinese heritage, to my friends and teammates, to all of the fans cheering for us, and to the whole hockey community. I went out there and I played my heart out. We battled it out for 3 whole periods, and going into the very last minute of play, the game was tied 1-1. Suddenly, my teammates scored 2 goals in a row. The final buzzer rang out, and we'd won 3-1, our first win of the Olympics. When I stepped off that ice, I was overwhelmed with emotions. I was crying happy tears at having overcome so much adversity with the help and support of so many people. It's the connections with the people around me that made achieving my goal of playing in the Olympics worthwhile. And it made this Olympic win meaningful. When I had blinders on, I achieved my goal, but it left me drained and unhappy. When I visited my grandfather, I learned the importance of taking my blinders off and connecting with the people around me. Then Mel showed me how by connecting with people, it makes striving for and achieving my goal meaningful. Winning alone left me empty and exhausted. But winning together meant the world to me. So whether you're at school, at work, or even at home, ask yourself, when do you have blinders on? And who are the people around you to connect with that will make striving for and achieving your goals worthwhile and meaningful?